I'm Anthony Pinn from Rice University.
I'm Bun-B from UGK. You're watching The Mechanism on allhiphop.com. Know what I'm talking about? Well, obviously we came to New York for the weather.
Reminds me of home.
Nah, man, we're in a unique position to be able to offer, a class that Dr. Penn and I teach at Rice University. We're in a position now to offer this class to the world online. So, over the last couple of years while we've taught this class, there's been so much, response from people who may not necessarily be able to come to Houston to attend Rice University. Even, just because you go to Rice University doesn't mean you get in this class. You know what I'm saying? So there's been an extreme amount of interest of people wanting to know what exactly is Bun-B and Tony Pinn doing over at Rice University. Well, now they have an opportunity to see exactly what we're doing at Rice University, and it's a beautiful opportunity that I've been able to have on the campus and, working with a guy like Dr. Pinn. And now the world gets to hear something I've been bragging about and talking about so long, and they see the tweets and, the Professor Trill Twitter account and all of that type of stuff. But, we're having a very real conversation at Rice University. Doc was nice enough to bring me in, and now we're in a position to let the world be a part of this conversation, and for free, which I think is even more amazing,
Well, we're giving people an opportunity to wrestle with two of the most significant cultural developments known to humans, religion and hip-hop culture. Right? Both of these have influenced how we think, how we talk, how we envision the world. And we're giving students an opportunity to wrestle with that. And we wrestle with it based upon four main areas. What is the relationship between Christianity and hip-hop? And we look at their points of agreement, things like hip-hop church. And we look at their points of disagreement. We look at the relationship between Islam and hip-hop, points of agreement and points of disagreement. We look at also ways in which hip-hop culture has critiqued hypocrisy, misconduct within the religious realm, yeah? And then we look at the ways in which hip-hop culture has replaced traditional forms of religion. So we take all of the charged questions, all of the charged conversations, and we give folks an opportunity to wrestle with this in a sustained way. Well, I'd been teaching a version of this class for 20 years, and when I got to Rice University in Houston, Texas, it only made sense to bring in artists because Houston is so prominent, and Houston artists have shaped me as a fan, right? So the opportunity to do this, I couldn't resist. So I had one of my graduate students start reaching out to artists I wanted to be in conversation with, and Bun was on the top of that list. So we had an opportunity to talk on the phone, and then we chatted in my office before he gave his lecture, and it was clear early on that I would only be doing myself a disservice and would be cheating my students if we didn't figure out a way to get Bun in the classroom in a regular way, to make him a part of this faculty. So I asked Bun if he'd be willing to co-teach the course with me from now on. It was just a natural connection. The dude is smart, he's insightful, and has so much to say about both of these topics. It only made sense. I would have been a fool not to try to make this happen.
Just because I'm a teacher in the course doesn't mean that I keep all the power. Our class is very interactive, so the momentum is basically identified by how much interactivity we have in the classroom. So it's not for me to really just sit there and stand at the front of the class and just speak and they just take it in. This is a course where we talk about things back and forth. So I will sit up there and I will give my lecture for 20, 25 minutes about, whatever the suggested reading was at the time, where hip-hop was, where the world was, where maybe religion was at that time, and then open the floor up to the conversation going back and forth. So it's not just me dictating everything. It's very important that the kids that take this class be a part of that conversation, and we make sure that that same level of interactivity is going to be available for people to give their opinions on the class on the online version. But it's been extremely fulfilling, man. This is not the normal thing I do, so naturally, performing is intimate, but it's still a bit separated. In the classroom, there is really no separation. You guys are kind of there on the same level, even though we teach in an auditorium, which for me is different because I'm used to being on a stage, raised up, looking down at the crowd. Auditorium in the class that we teach in, I'm kind of on the floor looking up. So it's a little more intimidating to me, I think, than it is to them. I could be wrong, Doc.
But it's a natural transition. Keep in mind, whether you're an academic or you're an artist, it's about being able to tell a story in a way that draws people in and that comes across as real. So the transition, moving from this audience to this other audience, it may have been a bit rough initially, but I understood from the very start that this was something that Prof could easily do.